What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got very, very exciting news. You see, the lovely folks over at the Transformers trading card game, we like them, they're good people. They went and shared an image with us, one image, in the spirit of the holidays and Christmas cheer and all of that good stuff, but oh my goodness, it couldn't have been much more exciting. What we saw was an image of some version of Megatron holding up a big green crystal, and above it we see Wave 5 and below it April 2020. And we assumed that Wave 5 was coming, and we assumed it was going to be early next year, though March would have been a more sensible prediction had we made it. I'll get onto the timings and all and the significance of that in a moment. But we now have confirmation that Set 5 is coming, and Set 5 is coming in April. And we do actually have a teensy bit of information about a couple of cards which are going to be coming in the set, based on interviews that Drew Nolosko, the brand manager, has actually given. Well, some recently, but some actually before the release of Wave 4 back in September. Cool. So before we dig into predictions and all of that, let's take a closer look at the timing, shall we? Now, Wave 1, the initial wave, was actually released on the 28th of September 2018, which of course, I say of course like you're all supposed to know this, it was a day before my birthday. How cool was that? Now, my shipment of Wave 1 was actually delayed, so on the one hand, I got it a day late. On the other hand, I got it on my birthday. That was kind of cool. Wave 2 then joined us. That was Rise of the Combiners on March the 1st, 2019, which is essentially 5 months later. If we take September the 28th as the beginning of October, then we got 5 months between Wave 1 and Wave 2. We then end up with Wave 3, War for Cybertron Siege 1, dropping on June the 28th. So again, count that as the very beginning of July. And we have a 4-month gap. And then Wave 4 comes November the 9th, 2019, which gives us a gap of 5 months. Technically 5 months and a week, but call it 5 months. And then Wave 5 is coming in April, which, assuming we're talking around about the beginning of April, would give us a 5-month gap again. Now, if it's the end of April, we end up with what is essentially a 6-month gap, or near enough, and then that's a little bit more disappointing. But actually, so far, of the 4 gaps we will have had, again, assuming a vaguely early in April, first half of April release, we'll have had 4 gaps between sets, one of which was 4 months between Wave 2 and Wave 3, but other than that, a 5-month gap. A lot of people were expecting a release in March, and that would make sense, right? Because in March would give us a 4-month gap, which we did have between Waves 2 and 3, but also a 4-month gap gives us 3 expansions per year. 12 months in a year, 4 months between sets. There we go. Works quite nicely. 5 months per set gives us an awkward release schedule where we kind of get 5 sets every 2 years, but not really. But there's nothing to say we have to have regular releases X number per year. Most TCGs do a certain number per year. The Pokemon trading card game does 4 expansions per year. Keyforge does 2 expansions per year. Most games do. We looked like we were getting a straight 3 expansions per year for Transformers, but that was just an assumption. If we look at the release dates here, again, let's assume they're all vaguely around the first of the month. We basically have release dates of October, March, July, November, April. Which means of the first 5 sets, we'll never have actually had the same month for more than 1 set. Which means we might have to let go of our preconceptions of we get 3 sets a year, 1 every 4 months, and accept that it's going to be more like every 5 months, and it's going to be a little bit less regular. Now, of course, the big question for me, because you all know I am itching to get to the releases of these new cards and start analysing them on the channel, when are we likely to actually see a proper announcement? Well, if we take the most recent set, War for Cybertron Siege 2, unless I'm misremembering this, the first peek we got was at Triptychon, which was an article by IGN.com, which was dropped on the 31st of July this year. Which is to say, only a month after the release of War for Cybertron Siege 1, and actually about 3 months and 1 week before the release of the set proper. Now, if we have about 3 months and 1 week between the first reveal and the set coming out, we should expect our first reveal of new cards in the first week of January. Again, I'm assuming an early April release. If we get a late April release, we should be looking for a mid to late January reveal of the first cards from the set. So we've probably only got a couple of weeks before the cards start being shown off. Again, there's not a strict pattern we can follow here, but this seems fairly sensible. The one thing we can say, you should expect IGN to get the big reveals. Generally speaking, IGN have gotten the big reveals for the Transformers TCG, but given their readership and their reach, I'm not terribly upset about this. They're reaching a huge amount of people. They've had lots of reveals. They were the ones that first showed off the Blaster and Soundwave decks. They were the ones that first showed off the Omnibots that came to us at Comic-Con. Again, I am not upset about this. It's just the way it tends to go. So what do we know about the set? Well, the good news is we do know we are getting a Megatron card. Why would we get a teaser image featuring Megatron without getting a Megatron card? And that seems kind of exciting until you realise, well, hang on a second, it's Megatron. Now, in Wave 1, we actually got 2 Megatron. We had the common and we had the rare. Then Wave 2 came around and we had Megatron Arrogant Ruler. Delighted to say that I was able to do the reveal of that one. We actually did have a Megatron coming around in a starter set, Cybertronium Tyrant. And then we got General Megatron in Wave 3 and Lord Megatron in Wave 4. Which is to say, yeah, we get Megatron, alright? We get Megatron. Megatron comes in every expansion. It's one of the very few characters along with like Optimus Prime that has, so it's not necessarily a huge spoiler. Now, as for what we actually see in the image, it was pointed out on the Facebook group that this does look an awful lot like Titans Return Megatron, which is, as it happens, a triple changer Megatron. Maybe. You never know. It's the best one that we've got, essentially. That's the best theory that we've got at the moment. It's one of those we very much have to wait and see. We don't have a huge amount of information, but this is the best guess that we seem to have come up with over on the Facebook group. Though I wasn't the one that came up with this idea. Someone posted it on the group. I believe it was one of the admins. So okay, we know we're getting a Megatron, but that's not hideously exciting because, I mean, spoiler alert, we're getting an Optimus Prime in the set. There we go. We have no idea anything about it. We're definitely getting an Optimus Prime in the set. So, what else do we know? Well, at an interview during the Energon Open, the big tournament we had in the UK a while ago now, this was back in September, so before the release of Wave 4, Drew, the brand manager for the entire game, came down, and he told us that in Wave 5, we are going to get some support for Volcanicus. This is the Dinobot Combiner. Now, bearing in mind, right, Volcanicus has never been good. There have been a lot of people that have tried to make it work, myself included. The problem is it was one of these super awkward combiners whereby you couldn't actually just play all 5 characters. What you had to do was play 3 of the Dinobots. And then when you attacked with Grimlock in bot mode, you put a Dinobot you own from outside the game into your KO area, in alt mode fully damaged, And then you had to attack with Grimlock at least twice, and then you could potentially drop a Dinobot Enigma when you had all 5 of the characters either on the battlefield or in the KO area. It didn't really work, it was way too awkward. I've never seen anyone see any success with the card. I really hope that this is something that's going to make Volcanicus viable again, because I want Volcanicus to be viable. I love him. But so far he just hasn't been. And I've heard reports that apparently at the Energon Invitational, Drew also mentioned that we might be getting some support for Autobot Cosmos. Now, I'm told this came from an interview with Drew that was conducted by Blue vs. Orange TCG, but it may well have been mentioned in interviews with other people as well. I'm not aware of that, but if it was mentioned in an interview you know of, please let me know in the comment section, and I will either pin that comment, or if there's more than one, I'll add some links to the description. Autobot Cosmos was one of my very favourite characters from Wave 1, and it never ended up being particularly good. It was a card with an awful lot of potential. When you were in alt mode, or when you flipped to it, you scrapped all the cards from your hand and then drew that many cards. And then in bot mode, if you reshuffled your deck while attacking, and you were attacking a character with 12 stars or fewer, you got an automatic one-hit KO. And you had a gigantic health of 21, which was at the time by far the highest in the game. So much potential, but in the end a little bit wasted. And that's what we know so far. It's not very much, but I think we've made a couple deductions here, and I, for one, like having a chat about what we know. But I'd like to know what you know, or what you think is going to happen, or what you predict is going to happen, or what you want to happen. Give me your wish list, your predictions, and anything else you want to say about the impending Wave 5 in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk about Transformers and other games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.